Hello. I'd like to give a brief account of how the variation of Seirawan Chess developed. First of all, it took place a few years ago. I was being hosted by dear friends of mine in Vancouver, BC, Bruce and Robin Harper. And Bruce works as an attorney in Canada, but he's also a game developer. He and I were in his kitchen, and we were waiting for his guests to arrive so that we could play the game of Risk, something we all really enjoy doing. And Bruce is also a very strong chess master, and I was lamenting the Grandmaster draw and what was happening in chess, the development of the computer, and how millions of games have been recorded in the openings, and how it was very hard to be creative and innovative. And furthermore, if you are exceptionally innovative during a game, there's suddenly now that person must be cheating because he's coming up with some really clever ideas. Anyway, I was describing all of these things with Bruce, and he basically said, well, what are we going to do about it? And from there, we kind of sparked one another imagination. So I really view the game that I'm about to show you as a joint development between Bruce Harper and myself. I started by telling him that in the 1920s, world champion Jose Raul Capablanca had suggested that chess be played on a 10 by 10 board with two extra pieces he called a marshal and a chancellor. And the marshal would have the power of a rook and knight, and the chancellor would have the powers of bishop and knight. The game Capablanca chess was later revised. Instead of being played on a 10 by 10 board, a 10 by 8 board was suggested. Well, I must admit, I haven't seen many 10 by 8 boards, so it means to say that the game of Capablanca chess did not become very popular. Both Bruce and I love the game of chess, and Fischer Random is a very nice game, but in a sense, if you look at the starting position, there's a great harmony in chess, and what happens in Fischer Random is the harmony at the start of the game is disturbed, and for the first dozen moves or so, both players are trying to restore the harmony in chess when you play Fischer Random. So we like the 8 by 8 board, we love chess, but we also like Capablanca's pieces and their powers, the powers of rook and knight. If you think, for example, about the queen, what is the queen but a piece with the powers of the rook and bishop? So the first thing we did is we said, well, we like Capablanca's pieces, but we hate the names and the imagery. What the heck is a marshal, and what the heck is a chancellor? And if you were to reduce these to an image, what kind of piece would be created as on the chessboard? So what we did is we changed the names. First of all, we introduced the elephant. Chess, of course, originated in India, and it seems to me and us, Bruce and I, that the elephant belongs in chess. And the elephant would have the power of rook and knight. Another image that is universal, and everybody knows it, is the bird, or rather, in our case, a hawk. A hawk will have the powers of bishop and knight. Okay, so now we had our names, we had the image we wanted, and now the key concept, and the most important concept that frankly is our invention, is how to introduce these pieces, which are currently off the board, into the game of chess. Well, one idea we had is that we'll just fianchetto, and we'll put the pieces on the fianchettoed squares. Somehow that didn't feel right, that we would fix the opening position by putting the pieces on two random squares. So what we came up with instead is the idea that when a piece develops on its original move, off the back rank, for example, in the case of knight g1 f3, a vacancy on the g1 square occurs. And on the same move, with knight f3, a player can put one or the other of his pieces that are off the board onto the board. It will take 2 moves to bring both pieces on the board. If, for example, we have a move like, say, d4, d6, e4, e5, this would be a bad move in this variant, chess variant. After d takes, this would be an exceptionally bad move, because now black is checkmated in one move. White plays queen takes d8 check, and at the same time takes his elephant, which acts as a rook and knight, and puts it on the d1 square, protecting the queen. Black is checkmated. When Bruce and I realized this, we were immediately excited. We said, okay, that's it, wonderful, no more Berlin defense. Anything that takes the Berlin defense out of chess is a wonderful evolution of the game, and that was it. The next thing is we had to decide for ourselves is what happens when a player castles. With the move castles, 2 vacancies occur. In the case of white, the square h1 and e1 are both vacant. Is a player allowed to put both pieces on after the move castles? No. The player must decide whether they want to use the e1 square, the h1 square, or maybe not to put either of the pieces on at all. Essentially, both players will have 8 opportunities to put on 2 pieces. In this way, the opening is not fixed. That is to say, at the start of the game of chess, it's a fixed position. Everything is stable. But in our game, I may make this kind of a move, or I can start with a different kind of starting position. So we have no fixed starting position of where these pieces are going to go. Of course, the pieces are incredibly powerful, which allows for amazing amount of combinations. And well, I'm very excited to see what will happen when we get 2 creative grandmasters. For example, let's imagine a match between Vasily Ivanchuk and Alexander Morozevich, for example, in this new game. I'm not exceptionally proud of the name right now, Seirawan Chess. Perhaps we will rename the game, because it really was a joint effort between Bruce Harper and myself. But really, the pieces themselves, they're evolved from Capablanca. So, I invite you to play, and I'm looking forward to being able to play it online as well. Thanks.